Welcome to the Same Side Selling Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Altman. Has B2B cold calling gotten harder in recent years? And many times people reach out to me and they say, man, it's getting harder and harder to reach people. Maybe it's our messaging. Maybe we're not doing it right. What's going on? Well, it is getting harder. And there are a couple reasons why. And I want to go over those reasons, probably more than a couple. It's probably several different reasons why. I want to go over what those reasons are and then give you suggestions on things that you can do to generate a better outcome. So the first thing is that if you're calling into large organizations, what you have to realize is that the goal of the IT organization is to eliminate wherever possible the distractions that get in the way of their people doing business. And one of the biggest distractions for them is people trying to sell them stuff that they don't feel that they need. So the spam filter detection has gotten much better. Call screening has gotten much better. You have people who are now working remotely, so getting through to them is even harder to do. And in many cases, they've been so inundated with bad outreach that they're not even open to talking to anybody. I've got a relative who served as CIO of a major organization, and his comment was, I don't even talk to any vendor who calls. And I said, well, what if the vendor had a good idea that could actually help you solve something? And he was of the mindset that that could never happen. Now, I think that's kind of a defeatist mentality, and that's not actually a good way that a good business leader would think about that. But it is the reality that sometimes people have killed the environment so much that nobody's open to listening to anybody. The other side of this is that the way people do outreach is awful. The number one question I ask people is, okay, if you were the recipient of that email that you just crafted, how likely would you be to open it, read it, and respond in a favorable way? And if the answer is, well, I probably wouldn't open it because the subject line didn't capture my attention, and it just seemed like someone was trying to sell me something, and they provided no value in the email, then you wouldn't open it. Why would you send that email to another human being? But we do it all the time. And I see businesses do this often. And so what we need to do is think about when I craft an email, when I do some sort of cold outreach, if I'm calling somebody or if I am emailing them, do I look and sound like a stereotypical salesperson? And if I do, then I probably need to change my approach. If it sounds like my only purpose of showing up is to try and sell you something, then you're not going to find a receptive audience. But what if instead you provided value? What if instead you reached out to people and said, let me just tell you right at the onset that only about half the people we talk to are the right fit for what we do. People in your position reach out to me every week to see if I can help solve an important issue for them. And if it's okay, let me share with you what the 2 or 3 most common issues are, the trends that we're seeing. If none of those resonates with you, there's nothing for us to talk about. Okay, would you mind if I step through those now? You'll probably pique their interest because you don't sound like you're showing up with desperation. Instead, you're saying only about half the people are a fit for what I do. Can I tell you why people come to me for help? And then you can determine whether or not it's worth us having a further conversation. I've just empowered that recipient, the person on the other end of the phone, that, look, I'm not going to keep you on here forever. I'm just going to share this stuff. If there's nothing for us to talk about, you'll tell me. That disarming capability is something that you can do in email as well. Now, one of the traps that people fall into in email is that they try to put everything in but the kitchen sink, maybe including the kitchen sink, in the email. Like, let me give you all the reasons why you would want to talk to us. Here's the thing. If you're the recipient and you open up an email that's paragraphs long, how likely are you to actually read that entire email? Or are you more likely to open it up and go, that's too long, I don't know this person, delete? So what we find is that if the email is too long, people aren't going to read it. Once you have established a conversation with somebody, people don't care how long the email is because you've established that there's some sort of credibility. There's a reason why they may want to talk to you. But at cold outreach, that's not the time to be verbose. You might even reach out to somebody and say, look, half the people we talk to aren't a fit for what we do. There are 3 main things we've been seeing as trends that people are asking us to help them address. I'm going to share with you one of them in this email. If that resonates, great. If not, let me know that. Over the coming days, I'm going to share the other 2 in individual emails. So you're going to get a total of 3 emails from me. If none of those resonate, just let me know so I know not to bother you again. If one of those captures your attention, let me know. I'll see if you're if you're in the group that's the half we can help, or the group we can't. And if we can't help you, I'll point you in the right direction. Does that sound okay? And what we're doing is we're once again disarming that we're just there to sell something. We're acknowledging that we're there to solve something if they have something worth solving. So yes, cold outreach is getting more difficult. It requires a different skill set. It requires you to think and see the world through the lens of your customer. So ask yourself first, this little recap for you. First, if I was the recipient, am I likely to open this? Second, does the subject line make it so that I've enticed some sort of interest? Third, am I disarming early on in the process that shows I'm there to solve, not sell? And fourth, am I giving the recipient the control to decide where we go forward or not? And of course, the fifth one is I want to make sure that I'm getting response from them. So I'm open to the fact of, hey, if there's nothing for us to talk about, let me know so I know not to keep bothering you. Tells them that, look, I don't need the business. I'm just trying to help people who I can provide the greatest value for. And if the trends I'm seeing and the problems I'm seeing aren't relevant to you, there's nothing for us to talk about. But if one of those does stand out, now we have something worth sharing. If this is helpful, please like it, share it, subscribe, all those crazy things that you can do in your favorite tool. If you've got a friend or colleague you think would benefit, share it with them. And if there's a topic you'd like me to address, just drop me a note to ian@ianaltman.com. I'll see you next week on the Same Side Selling Podcast. So long.